That abortion is obviously a violation of the sixth commandment here. By the way, people get uncomfortable about this because it's a political issue to the world. If there's anything that I could do, I would help us to understand as believers we're liberated from all of that stuff in the world. This has nothing to do with Republican, Democrat. It's not even an American thing. This is a simple question of theology and reality and science. Okay? This is not a worldly issue for us. We know this from Psalm 139, that God is clearly at work in the womb. He clearly knows the being in the womb. He's involved in all of that. Abortion isn't an unforgivable sin. Of course it's not. But it is a sin. Feticide is still murdering the image of God. The only way that isn't true, I want you to think about this for a second. Think about what we've established. We know every living human being bears God's image. We're all clear on that, right? If you are a living human being, you bear the image of God. All of us accept that. Secondly, we know that killing God's image is sinful. That's what the sixth commandment says. So the only way abortion is not sinful is if what is being killed in the womb is not a living human being. Makes sense, right? This is why I'm saying it's not a political issue. This is a clear theological understanding. Every living being bears God's image. Every living human being bears God's image. And every single being that bears God's image that is killed, well, that's sinful. So the only way that this isn't a sin, abortion, is if what is in the womb is not a living human being. Well, you do understand that's not a scientific question, right? We know it's living. This thing's moving around, having dreams. It knows the sound of its mother's voice and responds to it. We know it's a living, moving being. And we certainly know that it's human. It doesn't suddenly turn into an oak tree. We know what's in there is obviously human and alive. And some people say, yes, but Peter, a fetus is not a baby. Well, yes, and an adolescent is not an adult, right? When I use these terms, adult, adolescent, toddler, infant, I'm not referring to a non-human. I'm referring to a human at a particular stage of development. When I use the term embryo and fetus, I'm not referring to a non-human. I'm referring to a human at a particular stage of development. This is not high science, okay? This is a basic understanding of human anatomy. This is a living human being. So therefore, there is no theological question here. If it's a living human being, it bears the image of God, and if you kill the image of God, you have committed a sin. In the Old Testament, Exodus 21, look at what God tells us. If people are fighting outside the womb, okay, and they hit a pregnant woman and she gives birth prematurely, but there is no serious injury, the baby isn't injured, the baby survives, then the offender must be fined whatever the woman's husband demands and the court allows. But if there is serious injury, if the baby is maimed, damaged, or if the baby dies, you are to take life for life. What is God clearly indicating here? That He knows what is in the womb is living, human, bearing the image of God. It's not a theological question. Christians, this doesn't mean we condemn people who have committed this sin any more than we condemn anybody else who commits sin. But it does mean we recognize sin for sin if we want to follow the sixth commandment. And then